I see that we have quorum, and I call this meeting of the Committee of the Whole of the Town of Pelham to order. Councilors, we have a motion by Councilor King that the agenda for the Special Committee of the Whole Public Meeting Planning Act, June 8th, 2015, be adopted. Any amendments? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Are there any pecuniary interests or conflicts of interest with respect to the issue before us?
No, Mr. Chair.
Madam Clerk, could you so record? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here this evening to conduct a public meeting under the Planning Act to deal with an application for a zoning bylaw amendment and an approval of a draft plan of subdivision River Estates for the proposed development of approximately 38.49 acres, 15.5 hectares for residential and open space uses. The Planning Act requires under Section 3412 and 5120 that council must hold at least one public meeting for the purpose of informing the public in respect of the proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw and draft plan of subdivision. This public meeting has been called to satisfy these requirements. Notice of this meeting was provided by prepaid first-class mail to all persons who are listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 120 meters of the subject property on May 4th, 2015. The notice provided information on the property and the proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw 1136/1987 as amended. In addition to providing information, we also receive any comments which any member of the public may wish to offer. There is an attendance list on the table, which we would ask all present to print their name and complete mailing address if they wish to be notified of the passage of the amendment by council should this occur. So that's on that table, and please, if you have not signed in, please do, and we'll be more than happy to keep you informed on the process as we move forward with it. If a person or public body decides to file an appeal of a decision made by council in respect to the proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw and the draft plan of subdivision, and does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Pelham before the proposed amendment or draft plan are adopted or refused, the Ontario Municipal Board may dismiss all or part of the appeal. In closing, we stress that at this point, no decision has been made on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and the draft plan of subdivision, and therefore any comments received will be taken into account by council in their consideration. There always seems to be confusion around that last point. People think that we're getting together to tell you what our decision is. We have not, and I stress that, we have not made any decision in this matter, and we will be taking all the information that you provide to us and giving it fair consideration as we move forward on the applications that are before us this evening. So at this point, I'm going to turn to our planner and ask her to please present on this and provide the information surrounding this, these applications. So, Julie, would you like to proceed?
Good evening, Chair, members of committee, and also the members of the public who are here this evening. I'm here to present the public meeting information for 177 Port Robinson Road, commonly known as River Estates. Zoning amendment application AM 1314 and draft plan of subdivision application 26 T1903014. The purpose of the application is to allow the development of 124 single detached residences 3 street townhouses, and 142 dwelling units in an apartment building and block townhouses. The subject parcel is indicated on the map to the right, and it is located north of Port Robinson Road and west of Rice Road. And as indicated previously, the municipal address is 177 Port Robinson Road. The subject parcel is surrounded by vacant land that has been used for agricultural purposes, but is targeted for future commercial mixed-use development to the north. And there are single detached residential dwellings located on lots of varying sizes to the east, the west, and the south. In addition, the municipal boundary with the city of Thorold is located to the east. Currently, the subject parcel is vacant land. It has been used for agricultural purposes. In December of 2013, a pre-consultation meeting was held at Town Hall. On October 7, 2014, a rezoning application was received by the town, and this was to rezone the property from agricultural, or A, to several site-specific zones, including R2, RM1, RM12, and OS. On October 7, 2014, a draft plan of subdivision application was received. This was amended in April 24th, 2015. And then, of course, today, the public meeting is being held on this application, on these two applications. Before you is the proposed draft plan of subdivision of River Estates. The single detached dwelling units are predominant on the site. The street townhouse block is located up at the top northeast or northwest. The block that would be the proposed apartment building and also block townhouses is this large block here. The water course, OS, is along that corridor. There's a park in this corner and also down here. And this stormwater management pond is in this corner and as well as in this corner here. In regards to provincial policies, the provincial policies direct development to settlement areas where there's existing sewer and water services to facilitate compact form and encourage an appropriate range and mixtures of housing types and densities. Within the provincial policy statement, it is identified as being within a settlement area. The settlement, the subject parcel is outside of the Greenbelt Plan area. It is also outside of the Niagara Escarpment Plan area. And for the growth plan of the Greater Golden Horseshoe, it is within a designated greenfield area. Designated greenfield areas require a density of not less than 50 residents and jobs combined per hectare. The regional official plan designates the subject parcel as designated greenfield area with the presence of fish habitat. The regional policies state that designated greenfield areas will be compact, complete communities that will have a minimum density of 50 persons and jobs per hectare. The development and site alteration is allowed within fish habitat if it will result in no net loss to the productive capacity of fish habitat. An EIS and a minimum 15-meter buffer from the stable top of bank is required. The town's official plan designates the subject parcel as Greenfield Overlay Secondary Plan Area. Within that, it's East Fawn Hill Low Density Residential, East Fawn Hill Medium Density Residential, East Fawn Hill Medium High Density Residential, Environmental Protection 2, and Public Parkland. It is noted that there is the presence of the highly vulnerable aquifer and a stream throughout the property. The town's zoning bylaw currently designates the property as agricultural. The permitted uses include agricultural uses, including greenhouses, one single detached dwelling on the lot, home occupation, forestry, and conservation uses. The proposed site-specific zones include residential 2, residential multiple 1, residential multiple 2, and open space. In terms of the requested zoning, the R2 site-specific requests the deletion of maximum lot coverage, a reduction in the minimum front yard, the minimum interior side yard, and exterior side yard, and will establish a garage setback and maximum building height. The RM1 site-specific requests the deletion of the planting strip requirement, a reduction in the minimum corner lot frontage, the minimum lot area, the minimum front yard, the minimum exterior side yard, and minimum interior side yard, and it establishes a maximum building height. The RM2 site-specific for apartment dwellings is requesting an increase in maximum density, maximum lot coverage, maximum building height, a reduction in the minimal landscape area, and establishing a maximum or minimum building height. The RM2 site-specific is also requesting an additional permitted use of block townhouse dwellings, and the regulations for block townhouse dwellings are to be consistent with existing regulations 16.4. The OS site-specific for the park is requesting a reduction in the minimum lot area and the minimum lot frontage. The OS site-specific in regards to the water course replaces the permitted uses to the following: forest, fish, and wildlife management uses, conservation and flood control projects, and small-scale passive recreational uses such as trails, fences, docks, and picnic facilities that will have no negative impact on the ecological function or the natural heritage features of that area. A reduction in the minimum lot area and an increase in the minimum lot frontage. The OS site-specific in regards to the stormwater management pond facilities is requesting a replacement of the permitted uses to the following: facilities and features that are intended to manage the flow of stormwater from adjacent development sites, water features and associated landscaping to ensure the attractiveness and safety of stormwater management facilities, small-scale passive recreational uses such as trails, docks, and picnic facilities that will have no negative impact on the natural heritage feature or its function, and trails for cyclists and pedestrians, as well as gateway features and or public art installations. In addition, there is a request to reduce the minimum lot area. On May 4th, 2015, notice was circulated to external and internal departments that were directly affected by this proposed application, and notice was circulated to all assessed property owners within 120 meters of the parcel's boundaries. In addition, public notice signs were posted on the property facing Port Robinson Road and Rice Road. Planning staff have received comments from several agencies. The District School Board of Niagara has no objection. They do request that sidewalks be installed. The City of Thorold and City of Welland both offer no objection. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation currently does not support the applications as they require additional material to be able to recommend and provide conditions of draft plan approval. Bell Canada and Canada Post have provided draft plan conditions. Hydro One has no comments or concerns. The Department of Public Works has made several comments on the design of the stormwater management system, street lights, the provision of a trail. The department requires updated servicing plans and reports, as well as revisions to the preliminary stormwater management plan and revisions to the submitted plans. The Department of Fire and Bylaw Services and the Building Department have no issues or concerns at this time. In terms of the public, planning staff have received 2 letters, both indicating support from Hummel Properties Incorporated and Sleek Developments Incorporated. So in conclusion, this presentation has provided information on zoning bylaw application AM 1314 and draft plan of subdivision application 26T19-03014 to allow for 124 single detached residences, 3 street townhouses, and 142 dwelling units and an apartment building and block townhouses. It's important to note that no recommendations or decisions concerning this application have been or will be made at this meeting. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending this evening's meeting. And following this evening's meeting, questions and comments on this file may be directed to myself. My extension is 319 and my email is provided, and I do have business cards available should any member of the public wish to receive one tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah, for your very comprehensive, as usual, report. Council, we have a motion by Councillor Durley that the Committee of the Whole receives this issue summary report for information as it pertains to the application file number AM-13-14 and 26T19-03014 regarding 177 Port Robinson Road, River Estates, and further that committee direct planning staff to prepare a recommendation report on this topic for committee's consideration. Are there any questions that you'd like to direct or any discussion around that motion? Councillor Ribbiak and Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions, and I think it's fairly general and may require some research to get answers from by staff or whatever. But it seems to me that the proposal is requesting some fairly significant deviations from the vision of subdivision as we came to understand it in the meeting that we had with the planning partnership some months ago, that talked about street profiles, but also about what lots would look like and what the setbacks were, all that sort of thing. And I don't know that we can tonight get into all of these individual requests for deviation and get some sort of answer. I'm just wondering whether it's possible to request a report that kind of lays the vision as we came to understand it and came to develop a consensus around on one hand versus the proposals here, so we could see what the impact is. It seems to me that there's a lot. Some of them seem more significant than others, but some of them seem fairly significant. Lot coverage is one, for example. Just a variety of things that I would really like to explore at greater depth. And I just don't see that comparison here, but it would be useful to have that in order to be able to follow up with more precise questions. So if we accept this, can we add to the understanding of our view of what the planning report is going to be, that comparison between the vision as the planning partnership gave it to us and what this proposal is, so we can kind of evaluate it better?
Yep, I would presume that would have been included in the recommendation report, but perhaps we can ask.
I don't know that it was. Let's make sure.
Yeah.
The recommendation report would provide planning staff's opinion and professional advice on the applicant's requests for the zoning amendments at that time, and it would also take into account the advice of the planning partnership, which developed this plan that we are currently in use.
So just to put a point on Councillor Ribbiak's question, would you include in your report a comparison between the original vision that was encased in the official plan and the vision that we're seeing here on the plan of subdivision?
Yes.
And what variances have come forth?
Yes, we will.
So is that satisfactory?
I think so, but that would mean that it would be unnecessary for us now to explore any of those in specific detail. We'll wait for that report, and that will be part of the report that's forthcoming.
It seems to be.
Thank you. That satisfies me for the moment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One question that I do have, I noted that the one of the commenting agencies was Hydro One. And At our last council meeting, there was some discussion regarding Hydro One versus Niagara Peninsula Energy, and I'm just wondering, are we committed to have Hydro One as supplying the electrical services here, or is it possible that NPE be the service provider of choice in this? And it just perhaps a technical question, but we do have the two providers in this town, and the motion, as I see it, is trying to get one or the other, and I'm thinking that MPE is hot on the radar screen at this particular point in time. So through you, perhaps, to staff, if we can get just some kind of a general response to this.
Mr. Glover?
Through you, Mr. Chair. We circulate to the parties that are applicable to the application at hand. In this case, Hydro One would be applicable party that we would circulate to. We can investigate to see if there's an opportunity to circulate to the other hydro providers, and there's no negativity, I guess, in terms of providing them the information. But if it's not applicable to their service, they won't be interested. But nonetheless, we will investigate, see if there's an opportunity to provide to them this information on the subdivision.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, because they're definitely, we're looking at trying to consolidate into one or the other, and MPE has been definitely discussed as a possibility. So I would appreciate that to come forward, at least exploring that possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Anyone else? I do have a question, and it's along the same lines as Councilor Ribbiak. When you look on the surface of it, the number of amendments that are being requested are fairly significant. Some less significant than others. Is that because our zoning bylaw is very out of step with the official plan? And that's why we're seeing this very significant number of amendments that are being requested?
That is entirely correct. Because this is a new urbanist type of development, the current zoning bylaw that was written in 1987 that has had several amendments doesn't reflect this type of development. So the applicant has made many requests to revise our current zoning bylaw to meet this new type of development that is envisioned for the East Fawn Hill development in terms of the greater community that will be forming there.
So, as a follow-up, a good number of these amendments are being requested, in fact, to meet the density requirements from the province and from the region?
Yeah, the density requirements are required by the province as part of the growth plan, as well as the PPS. And then the regional policy plan has the same density requirements, and the town's official plan has those density requirements.
Right. So in order to meet those density requirements, one has to shrink the lots and increase lot coverage and all of that sort of thing to achieve those goals.
That is one way. The other way, obviously, is to have increase in height of structures. So the proposal before you is in keeping with the town's official plan in terms of the block that's higher density, which would have the apartment building, and then the lots themselves that are smaller in scale compared to more traditional areas of Pelham, and that is in keeping with the new provincial and regional policies that are in place.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Anyone else? No? Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just the one concern I noticed, again, in the commenting agencies, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority at this particular time is not supporting and lacking some information. What impact might that have as this moves forward? Or do we expect to have a head-to-head with them just to find out what they need and have the developer provide this? Or, again, I'm asking questions.
The Conservation Authority has requested information on the stormwater management pond and whether the culvert along Rice Road is sufficient to meet the projected demands, and as well as whether the region would allow for, if there was an extreme weather event, to have water go over Rice Road. So the NPCA has contacted the applicant to provide updated information. My understanding is that they did provide this information to the NPCA, and then as the subdivision was amended, they haven't yet provided updated information to the MPCA, so the MPCA will not support the application until they ensure that the stormwater management pond facilities are large enough to contain the water appropriately that will be generated from this development.
Just building on that, thank you, Mr. Chair. Regional road, or Rice Road is now a regional road, and with that, is there going to be a required partnership with them for some of the matters that you're just brought forward?
The region will be ensuring that there is no issues or concerns that they have with this development through the comments that they will be providing. My understanding is that the applicant has been working with both the region and the MPCA in terms of ensuring that there will be no negative impact to Rice Road.
Thank you.
Some clarity to those questions might come forth when the applicant makes their.
I'm sure, well, just did not support was the thing that just clued me into making that question. Thank you.
Thanks for your questions. If there's nothing further, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. At this time, we'll ask the applicant or the applicant's representative, Mr. Hycoop, to come forward and make a presentation on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Martin Hycoop. I'm with Upper Canada Consultants. I'm also here with just Mr. John Mestick from River Realty Developments. He works for River Realty. Basically, Ms. Hannah described the proposal that you have before you. I can make a few comments. Where's that? I'll make a few comments with respect to the plan that you may find interesting as well. Street A, which runs along here, that's half of the road width. The other half of the road width is part of the Village of Fawn Hill East plan, which is your community center block along here. So and the stormwater management pond, this little parcel right here, is actually going to extend into the full pond size. And I think that's why you're seeing some of these zoning variations for the blocks and the water course and the parks, just because these little blocks need to be completed with the adjacent plan. The stormwater management pond here in this location services the community center block and also the wellspring block. Those lands are dependent on this water course down through here developing, so those lands are not, so which we're calling Phase 1B of the Village of Fawn Hill East, those lands are not able to develop until this water course develops through to the culvert under Rice Road. So that's the push on to get this plan approved so we can complete the infrastructure for your community center block and also for Wellspring. We've had, actually as recently as Friday, we met with the region. Some of the town staff were there. At that meeting, the region asked me to do the designs for this intersection here at Port Robinson Road and Rice Road and look at bringing the curb all the way along the west side of Rice Road. We're going to replace the culvert under Rice Road. The region's going to pay a share and the developer will have to pay a small share. This trail, the reason why, okay, going to the pond, the reason why that pond, the original design had the pond a little differently configured, but in order to allow for the trail which Planning Partnership proposed along here, we had to tweak the pond and also the pond or the access from the trail within to this park and into the subdivision. So this works. We just need to give them the design details for the ultimate pond configuration, which we've done. We'll have that to the Conservation Authority like within a day or two. So when the recommendation report comes back to council, you'll have their recommendations dealing with the stormwater management pond. As far as the lots and the road configuration in this plan, it's in keeping with the secondary plan that was prepared for this area. I think the discussion about the variances, we've been doing those same kind of variances on all of these new subdivisions within the town, just basically to meet the lot sizes, which range, I think the single family range between 40 foot or 12 meters and 50 foot, which are 15 meters. So they're a normal lot size of what was contemplated in the secondary plan for this area. We just need to have the zoning set up so that we can make good use of the lots with the proposed dwellings. Generally, we're trying to design these lots in this area for bungalow style as much as possible. I know on the Rosewood subdivision, which is that Rinaldi is presently building on, there's a push on for bungalow style housing, and I think we'll see that in this area. Not saying that it's all going to be that style, but we want to make sure the zoning is set up to allow for it. As far as the hydro issue, Mr. Glover's correct. This is the Hydro 1 area. We're dealing with Hydro 1 over here. Actually, when we did the development on the west side of town under the water tower, it was under Hydro 1 as well. We would prefer it to be under NPE, but what are you going to do? And so we are working with them as much as we can. Basically what happens, for your information, our electrical engineer designs the lighting, passes the lighting design on to Hydro 1. They do the electrical design, and then we build it to their spec, which is more bureaucratic than a smaller utility. Other than that, I think that explains this plan. If you have any questions about this plan or how it fits in with the rest of the development, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Councilor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, could you spend a little bit of time talking about the multi-res lot and what we can expect to see from your proposal? It looked like 142 in a high-rise, some townhouses. Maybe you can give us some detail about that.
Okay. This block was identified in the secondary plan and the official plan as that style of development. At the present time, River Realty do not have a purchaser for this block. They will not be constructing that on that block. So we're trying to zone it as flexible as possible in order to, so that we can attract somebody to purchase it. We've been pushing this whole plan with River Realty to get this plan approved so we can get the watercourse outlet for the community center and the Wellspring block so that they can move ahead. I think, and Mr. Mestic can speak to this, I think we're trying to put the flexity that, you know, we can attract somebody to purchase that. They will not be developing it or building on it.
Any follow-up, Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a fairly extensive multi-res, and I take it that from an earlier question that you're looking for the flexibility to ensure that the density requirements are met.
Yes.
So what would happen to that whole block if, in fact, you didn't go multi-res? Would it be possible at all to have enough units, or would they all need to be townhouses, or how would it work if you didn't
Well, we did
have a 142 tower?
We did a concept plan with a mixture of some towns and a multi-block or a multi-story building, and, you know, a low-rise building in this area to show how we could achieve the density requirement. It is a large block. There was some thought to splitting it into one or two pieces, and personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should leave it as a block that somebody has the most flexibility with the design when they come along. Because once we create a lot line here, for instance, to put it back together as one block later becomes more problematic. It's just a little bit along the philosophy that we had on the Village of Fino, where we had the 4 large blocks, and then we can see how, you know, if somebody comes along, how we can do a good design with somebody's vision on the block, and the land use, you know, the block size will jive with their vision.
Through you, Mr. Chair, so the number of lots that you have in what you are developing, the 124, I think it
Yes.
is, you're able to do 124 and achieve density in that whole area by having a much higher density in that one block.
Yes.
Which would suggest that if you didn't have that high block, then the lots that would be left would be smaller and greater in number.
Absolutely, they would be street towns. But we're also in keeping with the secondary plan, which, because of the community center block over here, showed that they wanted to have a higher density in that area. This is the main the main roadway through to Town Square along here. So that's the main road with the commercial up here. So that block, but you know, the secondary plan slide would show that that is the use that was allocated for that block. It's divided by the water course here, so the residential on this side is separated from that block. So we see it as a good thing that it's in this location.
Mr. Glover wanted to comment on this as well.
Let me add upon that. The subdivision itself meets the density in combination because of the types of uses that are there. The applicant has provided this design to meet the requirements of the official plan, the secondary plan, where this block is shown as a high density, medium to high density block. So they have met that objective of getting the density there by placing the majority of it on this high density. When this high density is to be developed, whether it be some form of block townhouse and apartment or just an apartment, the town staff will be very adamant that the density must be met because that's what the provincial, regional, and the town objectives are. So we're not sure, through the applicant again, we're not sure whether it'll be a combination of townhouse and apartment or just full apartment. I think the market may decide that.
And one further comment with that block, it would be subject to site plan control. So in other words, you'll get to see how it develops once a proposal comes forward with landscaping, servicing, lighting, building elevations, the whole gambit for the details of that development.
Councilor Rupert.
Thank you. Just one follow-up and then one other question. Follow-up to Mr. Glover through you. Does that, am I to understand, or are we to understand from what he said, that the design of the single-family residential portion can stand on its own from a density perspective?
Mr. Glover?
No, that's incorrect. It cannot stand on its own. It needs that high density.
It needs the high
As
density.
well, so we don't anticipate any changing of that designation in the future to lower the density because the density must be had.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And finally, one other point. One of the things that we discussed with when we looked at the vision through planning partnership was the opportunity for residents in any of these subdivisions to be able to walk to convenience stores. Don't have to get in the car to get a loaf of bread or a quart of milk. But I didn't see any provision made for any kind of commercial opportunity within that. I wonder if Mr. Heiko might comment on that.
Mr. Heiko?
Well, there is no commercial proposed in the secondary plan. In this plan, the commercial is up in this area. We have the walking trails along the water course, this walking trail along here, and there will be sidewalks throughout the subdivision. So the distance of walkability from this area over to the commercial is not very far.
No, and that is true. But just for reference, we did have that discussion about subdivisions, and I don't know whether we can recall, Mr. Chair, but we talked about small towns having access to the amenities that they require, and it didn't sound, at least at that point, that that kind of opportunity would be forbidden from this. What we understood from Mr. Palmer, I think, was that at the intersection of certain kinds of roads, there was provision for some sort of shop or market or some sort of convenience a commercial opportunity. So that's why I was asking whether we could see any there. I didn't, and certainly none proposed at the moment.
I think Mr. Heiko was trying to speak to the connectivity that's there with the commercial. If anybody else on the committee have any other questions? No? I have one quick question. It ties to the density around the high density block. My understanding of the act is that we have to, when we look at density, we look at the whole development, right? So presumably, if another part of the development to the west of this one, for example, came in with a higher density, it could be averaged in with this subdivision, and therefore that high density block could be reduced in terms of density down the road. Is that a correct statement or not?
The town's official plan specifies that neighborhood 1, which this proposed plan of subdivision is located in, must have a density of 57 persons and jobs per hectare. The plan is currently at 56 people, jobs per hectare. The region allows for environmental feature areas such as the natural corridor, so for instance, the water course, to be removed from the calculation. If there is an area in the neighborhood plans that is found deficient, then the town is responsible for ensuring that that density that is deficient is made up for in other areas of the community. But it's overall has to meet the density requirements.
So in fact, the higher density that's here, higher than the 50, helps to buffer some lower density areas that are in other places of the development.
That is correct. In the secondary plan, for instance, in the southern portion, there's quite a bit of environmentally significant land, environmental protection 1 and environmental protection 2 designation. So that land is unable to be developed, and to accommodate the density requirements, the plan has allowed for higher densities in areas to the north, specifically the parcel that has been proposed for the high density, medium density in terms of the apartment dwelling or the block townhouses to meet and accommodate that density.
Thanks very much. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Heikle. Appreciate it. At this time, it's an opportunity for you as the public to bring forth your input on the applications that we have before us. I would ask that you come up to the podium, introduce yourself, and give us your name and full name and address. And if you do have a written copy of your presentation, that would be helpful for us in terms of documentation. If not, that's fine too. Yes, come forward.
I actually dropped off a letter.
We do, you're Brenda, are you?
Yes.
We do have that on our table, and thank you for that. And it will definitely be, in a later motion, we'll be acknowledging that. Okay. Anyone else like to speak to these applications? This is your opportunity. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you. Council, I have a motion put forth by Councilor Ribyak that correspondence received at the public meeting held on June 8th, 2015 regarding the application number AM-13-14 and 26T19-03014 regarding number 177 Port Robinson Road be accepted as follows. Rainier Hummel Sleek Developments, Post Office Box 636, Niagara-on-the-Lake, form of a letter. Rainier Hummel, President, Hummel Properties, Post Office Box 636, Niagara-on-the-Lake. Also a letter, and also a letter from Brenda Berger, received today. And Brenda, I don't have your address here.
1475 Rice Road.
1475 Rice Road. Thank you. Any discussion around that? If not, call a question. All those in favor of receiving this information? Thank you. That is carried. Any further committee input? We did address a lot of the issues along the way, committee, but if there's anything else that leaps into your mind, now's the time if you want to put it forward? No? Okay, in that case, I have a motion by Councillor Junkin, seconded by Councillor Ribyak, that this meeting of the Committee of the Whole be adjourned until next regular committee schedule for Monday, June 15th, 2015, unless sooner called by the mayor. All those in favor? Motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
So, Terry.